I'm Nancy Showalter, and you're listening to Spirituality for the Politically Incorrect podcast. Welcome, all radical paradigm shifters and creative change makers. You who dare to create a better life and a better world. Tap into the power that resides within you and use that power for constructive change. Hello and welcome to another episode of 5 Keys to God Mastery. We've talked about the first 2 keys that came from the Ascended Masters Saint Germain and Kuan Yin. And today we talk about the 3rd key. And this key comes from Oromasis and Diana, who are the hierarchs of the fire element. And they spoke also at the Sine Wave to the Sun conference. They opened their message by saying, "You have yet to understand the principle of God mastery." And they tell us right away we can gain new dimensions of ascendancy and consciousness right here and now. And not only does the ascension process require it, but it's a demanding of our being if we wish to enter into that ascension spiral. And we should not be content to remain in the old consciousness. And they ask the question, how can there be God mastery within when all about you assails? And they say if you allow the assailing of the world against the very bastions of your own fortress of light, of who you are, then there's not really God mastery at all. So it's important to understand that within us lives that light, that bastion of light, and it is our fortress. But if we allow the world to just simply assail it and not protect it, then there really isn't God mastery at all. Now we know there are ways we can protect our light. We call to Archangel Michael to surround us. We can call for the I Am Presence to descend light around us as a mighty tube of light, like a force field protection. So it's up to us to protect that light that we are here in the world, and that we have to push back, they say, upon that which would limit the fullest expression of God within us that is allowed. And it is allowed in this age. This is the descent of the light upon the individuals and the planet as a whole. So they say, look up and lift our consciousness. And we think in terms of higher vibration. We know our I Am Presence and Christ Self do dwell above us. But they're saying here that this up is the accelerated matrix, and above us is a vacuum, right above us, and it's a hallowed space that is hallowed by the Buddha. So there is a place, a higher place that we can go, where we can actually externalize God within our being. The key, they say, to God mastery is harmony. That is the key, the harmony of our being. No matter what eruptions of negativity come toward us or what the world is doing, we want to rise to that sacred space, the I Am Presence of Christ Self, the Buddhic consciousness. And this teaching was really beautiful when they brought up the Buddhic consciousness. And I realized it reminded me of an experience I had earlier in my life, and particularly that statement. So we look up and lift your consciousness, for above you is a vacuum that's a hallowed space provided by the Buddha. In other words, another dimension of being. And the story goes as it was on the day of my son's high school graduation, and the whole family was there, including my parents. And during the day prior to the evening event of the graduation, we decided to ride some horses, ones I had never ridden before. So I got on one of the larger horses because the owner said he was the calmer one of the two. And when I mounted the horse, I remember thinking, I wonder if he's rein trained or, how he's used to being ridden. Well, I didn't have to wonder very long, because after a few steps, the horse turned and headed straight toward the fence of the corral at a very high speed. and I was preparing for the horse to jump over the fence, which I certainly wasn't expecting when I mounted it, but that's what happened. Well, he got to the fence and stopped, which put me sailing through the air and hitting the ground on the other side. Now here's the strange thing. My family came running and my dad asked me if I was okay, and I said yes and got up. However, I didn't remember any of this. What I did remember at the time was, while I was standing up, I woke up. I remember coming back into my body, waking up, and being in the present moment. And as we were spending time together, my other son commented on being thrown off the horse. And I asked, who got thrown off the horse? And they said, you did. And my father said, I knew you were not all right, even though you were walking around and talking to us. He also said that as I went over that fence, it was like someone was carrying me, and I was floating down and they placing me on the ground in a safe way. Which is true because I had no broken bones or injuries other than some bruising. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this is because this memory of waking up also made me wonder, is this what Gautama Buddha meant when he said he was awake? Did it happen that simply and gently under the bo tree when he just woke up to another place, another reality, into God consciousness? When he was asked, who are you, after he had his awakening, he said, I am awake. And later he said that being awake was seeing things as they really are in a higher dimension. Is this what we are doing also, little by little, as we accelerate our consciousness, as we remain harmonious, as we gain this God mastery, that we too wake up and see things differently, see everything the way it really is? Is that what was called Buddhic enlightenment? It's a wonderful thing to contemplate. And remember now, this is our third key, God harmony. Harmony of our being, integrity within our mighty I Am presence, our Christ self, and our outer consciousness here in the world. And keeping harmony of our four lower bodies, the memory, the emotional, the mental, and the physical bodies. That is our third key. I will see you next week. Until then, keep an open mind, a generous heart, and a powerful spirit. Thank you for being with me today, and if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, download, and comment. I'd love to hear from you, and your support is much appreciated. And don't forget to go to theawakeningnow.com for free bonuses and information on my new book, You Were Born to Be a Christ, but You Were Taught You Are a Sinner. Awaken to who you really are. See you next week.